is Dr. Noel. This is another segment of our Secure Dental podcast. And today I have a good friend and a colleague, Dr. Jeff Anzalone. He is a full-time practicing periodontist in the great state of Louisiana, author and founder of debtfreedoctor.com. He focuses on helping doctors and other high-income professionals create passive income from real estate so they can stop trading time for money. All right, Dr. Anzalone, what's going on? So let's share and let's dive straight in. Like, what is this bio? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, I had a kind of an interesting thing happen to me that kind of brought me on this path. I got kind of screwed out of a deal when I got out of my residency. I was supposed to join a group, but unfortunately, it fell through. So I had to figure out how to open my own practice. Had 300,000 student loan debt, a 2-month-old, and we already bought a house. So I was literally in survival mode. Went down the Dave Ramsey debt snowball path, which probably most of y'all know about. But once I got to the point where I went through all of the steps, it was kind of like, now what? We're just kind of like going to work and just, doing stuff with kids. And I was like, well, I guess just what everybody does for the next 30 years. But then I had something interesting happen to me. As you alluded to a little bit earlier, I injured my wrist snow skiing. And that was kind of my aha moment, wake up moment. Because as a dentist, as a periodontist, for dentists, if we can't use our hands, I mean, you got to, I guess, hold a handpiece in your mouth or something, or with your foot. I don't know. It's kind of hard to do, huh?
How many years out were you when you hurt your wrist?
I would say probably 9 or 10 years out.
Wow. So what went through your mind at that time when this happened? Because I know you were like kind of comfortable with a lifestyle, right?
Yeah, it's almost like sometimes when you ever get that feeling, like if a noise or something wakes you up at night, and how you immediately your heart starts beating, your mouth gets dry, you're just like,
oh, absolutely,
just like that, like within like a second, that fight or flight reaction. It kind of was more of a slower progression because boom, I hurt my wrist. I was just focused on my wrist. I'm like, man, I hope I didn't break it or whatever. And got it checked out. And luckily it wasn't, but then it was just kind of like, man, it was all those what ifs.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if it was broken? What if it went numb? What if I couldn't work for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? I'm by myself. So that's what really got me focused on that.
And you and I, we both know how well the disability insurance works, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you got to wait 90 days and then only if they will deem you're not able to work. So, I mean, this is the essence of our profession. If we do not work, we don't have our hands. I mean, we cannot generate income. That's plain and simple. And for you to kind of go through that and you had this whole mind shift. So what is it that brought about for you to think about, hey, I need an alternative way of making income?
Yeah, for me, it's a little bit different because most of the people that I talk to now and that are in your group, which is fantastic, by the way, they're focused on, hey, I just want multiple streams of income. I'm still working.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to buy some other stuff. Maybe I want to slow down. Maybe I want to retire early, whatever. So that's what they're thinking. Me, on the other hand, I was thinking like insurance policy, like risk. I gotta do something to mitigate the risk if this happens again. And I'm actually standing on a broken foot right now because I'm an active guy, and I'm always, sometimes I'm getting injured, so I'm not going to live life in fear. I knew that going forward. There's no way I could do that with teenage kids. So that's what it was for me, and I spent months and months, YouTube videos, podcasts, articles, Facebook group. And if I could consolidate all of that down to 2 main points for your audience, it's this. Number one, and it's about wealthy people, really wealthy people. They all have multiple income streams.
Correct.
Okay? Most dentists have one. Number 2 is they own real estate. They own businesses. They own cash. Like if you go to I'll go to conferences with like, people that are 15, 50, $100 million net worth people. You're like, hey, what do you do for a living? They don't do, they're not like,
Right.
oh, I'm a doctor, I'm
Right.
a lawyer, they don't, they're like, well, I own these businesses, I own this type, it's like they own stuff. So I knew only having one income stream and I didn't have any businesses or real estate, that's what I needed to focus on.
No, that's huge because most of us are worried about the income stream that's coming in. But, little do we think about like, when I say income, I mean like the employee mindset, right? And when you're talking about multiple businesses, we are talking about like how Robert Kiyosaki says, like, the B and the I. And that's where I see that, you're kind of focusing on. So with that being said, are you still practicing right now?
I'm practicing part-time right now
Okay.
and I'm retiring to something. So the goal is to retire to the the real estate businesses, the things that are, and you've mentioned mindset
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
several times. So I think that's really important that dentists, we get the correct mindset, not just in money, but
Hmm.
in anything. If you want to get your health better, wealth, if you want to get better in your marriage, with your um, relationship with
Love
your
it.
kids, whatever, it starts right here. But really, until you get control of your mindset first, you're going to have a hard time with those different ideas. So I've been sharing a little bit, and I've kind of come out of my comfort zone because I'm not a big
Right.
Instagram person, but I've started sharing
Nice.
different things that I do on a personal basis every day on Instagram that kind of helps me focus on what I'm reading, what I'm eating, how I'm working out, how am I doing with my kids, my wife.
Love it.
And then once people see how other people are actually living, they're not just talking about one thing, I think that will help them. So we'll see.
No, that's so true because a lot of times when we see people or when we follow somebody, it's very simple, right? Success leaves clues. And we always want to pick up on those clues and find out like what are the successful guys doing, and maybe we want to follow the same suit. And I like the fact what you just said. You are part-time practicing periodontist, but you have this other side thing going on, which is running parallel. Is that correct to say? Like with your business at this point, and
Yeah.
slowly you want to migrate from being a doc full time and then being full real estate, correct? So how long of a journey do you think, like if somebody's listening to this here, do you think would should someone anticipate? Like it's not an overnight thing, of course, right?
Mhm.
What would you say? Like, somebody go like, hey, I'm practicing, I got a one practice going and it's like really killing it. I'm doing like, 1.5 to $2 million a year. How do I take that so that I'm not trading time for money? And how do I take it and put it into real estate or something like what you did to transition? What would be your advice, like time frame wise, money wise, just like an overall from a 30,000, feet view?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. Did you watch the Last Dance with the Chicago Bulls? Did you watch that
Oh,
documentary?
loved it.
So I was a big Jordan fan, growing up. He was, my idol in high school and
Absolutely.
college. And you always just watch these people like him or Kobe or, whoever your favorite sports star or whatever. And you just
Yeah.
see them on TV once a week. You're like, that dude's great. But
Mm.
then you see a documentary like that and you see that dude ate, slept, drank. I mean, it was 100% mindset was focused on basketball being the best. And once you see what it takes to get to that level, most of the time they're not going to do it because I mean, think about there's only just a
Exactly.
few great people. So I say that to say this, unfortunately, the majority of the people
Mm.
won't do this because they're comfortable, like you said.
Wow.
And,
Right.
and that's just for me. And I've got over 2,100 people in my group now, my passive investing group that are in the group. That doesn't mean they've all invested in something, but they get in
Right.
there and they're just kind of, hey, I'm comfortable and people don't like to change. And really the people that come in that have the goals that have, I want to do this, 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 and this. I want to have $100,000 of passive income coming in 3 years or less. And this is how much I can invest to
Mm.
you. I mean, people that come in like that, typically they've had kind of like a moment like I've had with the wrist injury or something like that to really
Exactly.
get them focused. Think about your practice. Most of the time, if you're busy, if you're booked out for weeks or months, you got a ton of patients in the book. Are you thinking about marketing your practice? No, right?
At that
Because you're
time,
busy.
no.
What happens as soon as the phone stops ringing and there's like all these empty spots in your schedule? That's when
You're running. Yeah, you're struggling at that time. You're trying to look for answers, right?
so that usually that's kind of the analogy that I give. You were just kind of cruising along, everything's good. Then all of a sudden it takes something like that to go, oh crap, I got to do something about it. And again, it could be a heart attack, or
Absolutely.
it could be chest pain to get them to start eating right, to healthy or whatever. So it's just, unfortunately, it takes people to get to that level. My thing is, I'm trying to teach people to work on it before it's too late.
Before, right. That's huge, man, what you just said, because a lot of times we always sit on the fence. We always wish like, hey, I wish we could have done this, wish we could have done that. And now it's kind of too late. But when the time is there, we don't have the sense of urgency. And that's with a lot of our colleagues too. Like they'll just sit down there, but not taking any action. So I'm just kind of like, like really amazed like how you actually thought about it. Because now let me ask you this question here, right? If that injury would not have happened, do you think you would have thought about that?
No, and that's the sad thing about it because I didn't even know about it.
Mm,
And that's another thing that that was my number one reason for starting my blog, starting the YouTube channel. It's
got
because
it.
I don't know if that dates back from like dental school. You know how, you know, as a specialist, you typically had to try to be in the top of your class, So
Right.
a lot of times we would get old tests or we would have stuff and we would hoard it, right? We were just like looking out for us, unfortunately. So I don't know if people get like success and they don't tell other people about it.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I don't need any more money. I don't need to buy stuff. I don't need to travel. It's just like to me, I get more pleasure like just helping other people, sharing stuff, making the connections and seeing that change. And I think if more people do that, and that's why I'm always like, look, I tell somebody, I'll tell them exactly what to do. And I say, look, if you do this and you're successful, do me a favor, make sure you tell other people
Absolutely.
as well, because what's the point? I mean, to hoard it all. And and I would have never known that. So it took the wrist injury to go down the path to do it. So now hopefully I'll start getting the word out more and other people will give the word out more to help mitigate the risks that we all face. I mean, and I had an article that was published. Is it Kevin? You ever heard of Kevin MD? He's a
Evan, no.
Kevin, KevinMD.com. He's a really big
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
social
Okay.
media guy or whatever. And he wanted me to write an article about,
Nice.
we call it the silent threat. It's the one income that doctors and dentists are relying on. It's the silent threat. And that's really what it is.
This is so important because I think we need to drive this point home really, really hard that as professionals, dentists or, a specialist or even an MD, we need to understand like, trading time for money, just that one income source. And like in your case, you had that wrist injury. So before something like, catastrophic, like, happens, the best way I would say is like, start looking into it. And like you said about the mindset shift, that's so huge because without that, I mean, like there is no other way that anybody would take action. So if there was one point that you would really advise or you would like to drive home again is what would that be for someone like sitting on the fence or somebody thinking about it? Hey, I need to have a second source. I do not want to go through that. I got family that I got to feed. What would it be like so that they can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to start looking into it and I want to take action like now.
Well, the easiest thing to do is something that both you and I have done and other
Mm-hmm.
hundreds, probably thousands of other successful entrepreneurs is read the Purple Bible, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Purple ball. I love that. I
If you
love
haven't read the Purple Bible, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, it was written, I think in 1997. It was
Yeah.
published in 97, which is kind of funny because I read The Millionaire Next Door, which was published in the year before, 96, when I was a senior in college. And two totally different views, but you can actually take a little bit from each and learn from it. But when you read that book, if you're a dentist and you read that book,
It
the
would
light
change
will
your life.
it will change. It's not going to tell you how to do stuff, but once you read it, you're going to get in the mindset of like, holy cow, this is how I've been operating financially and with my health and with everything else. And it goes back to the phrase, you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
You don't know it. And then when you read it, you're like, wow, I cannot believe we weren't taught this in dental school. It's like a disservice. So there's a DO school here at my hometown in Louisiana. And I went and spoke to them last year about it, and they're sitting in the front going,
Yeah.
I've never. So just get the word out. I just tell people, just get the word out to people. If you got a kid, if you got a teenager, start pouring into them. Just give them those options. If not, they're just going to do what everybody else does. And
Precisely. I was just at this weekend, I was just at the Sumrock AIM Natural event, and Kiyosaki was there. And
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, great personality. I mean, saw him live for the first time. It really hit hard, right? I mean, he was like, Dave Ramsey's teaching is great. And he loves Dave Ramsey, by the way. His teachings are great, but here's the thing, it's meant for the 95% of the masses. And that's what he said. He's like, if you want to be the top entrepreneur, like you said, the purple book, right? Just go and follow that, where the B and the I in the quadrant that he explains really so well. And one thing that I did right away was he spoke about his cash flow board game, right? And that is something I just went ahead and got it for my kids. And I was like, you know what? This is something I would want to invest in, because
I got a funny story for you about that.
Yeah. Tell us.
I bought that game. Well, my kids are 18 and 16 now. So my youngest was probably 10, 11.
Yeah.
So the goal is to get out of the rat race. And,
exactly.
you go around the board and you do all this stuff. So of course, he gets out of my son, Benton, he gets out of the rat race first. So, so it was my turn to spin. So I spun and did the cards, whatever. And he's like, Dad, are you out of the rat race? I was like, no, you can see, I still have my cards. I'm still in a rat race. He's like, no, I mean, like, are you still in the rat race like every day?
For real?
I was like, you mean for real?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah. He looked at me and he was like, man, that's gotta suck.
Wow.
And I'll never forget that. So my 11-year-old was just like pounding it home to me, like, dude, you got to get out of the rat race. So if you can instill that in your kids early on, then hopefully that'll be in the back of their mind.
Exactly. And
So again, it's about the mindset,
It's about the mindset. So right now, like some of the listeners there, they want to learn more about Debt Free Doctor, right? Where do you just go debtfreedoctor.com? Any other links?
You could do that. Debtfreedoctor.com. My YouTube channel link is on there, or you can follow me at Dr. Jeff Anzalone on Instagram.
No, that's great, Jeff. We'll definitely have this on our Facebook group for sure. And, we definitely want to drive this home. Like, hey, we all as professionals, we need to think about it. What's going to happen for our future?
Absolutely. Perfect.
So, Jeff, thanks so much again for coming in and driving that message home for us and our audience. I really look forward to connecting again for sure. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the end. We're going to land our plane here. Again, thanks again. Thanks a lot, Jeff, for coming in. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. And this is the end of our Secure Dental podcast. Thanks, Jeff.
Yes, sir. Thank you.